The room hummed, a low, constant thrum of electricity. Darkness pressed in from all sides, broken only by the flickering light of a dozen screens. Lines of code scrolled rapidly, a torrent of information cascading down the digital waterfalls. At the center sat a figure, shrouded in shadows. Fingers danced across the keyboard, a whirlwind of motion blurring the line between human and machine. Each keystroke echoed in the silence, a percussive rhythm that spoke of urgency and purpose. This was no ordinary workspace. This was a sanctum of secrets, a digital forge where data was molded, and reality itself seemed malleable. The air crackled with the energy of countless computations, the digital equivalent of a high-voltage current. The figure, bathed in the ethereal glow of the monitors, was lost in the code, oblivious to the world outside. Their focus was absolute, their concentration unwavering. Time itself seemed to bend around them, warped by the intensity of their task. He was a phantom, a digital wraith moving through the labyrinth of cyberspace. Each keystroke was a step, each line of code a whispered word in the ear of the machine. His eyes, reflecting the cold light of the screens, burned with fierce intensity. There was an elegance to his movements, a fluidity that belied the complexity of the task at hand. He navigated through virtual landscapes with the ease of a native guide, his fingers tracing patterns on the keyboard like a virtuoso pianist composing a symphony. The lines between the physical and the digital blurred. He was no longer simply interacting with a machine. He was immersed in it, his consciousness merging with the cold logic of the circuits. The room thrummed around him, a digital heartbeat pulsing in sync with his own. This was more than just hacking. It was a conversation, a dialogue between two minds separated by a thin veil of silicon and code. And as the night wore on, the line between the hacker and the hacked grew increasingly indistinct. A disembodied voice, smooth and androgynous, sliced through the hum of the machines. Firewall breached, accessing mainframe now. The words materialized on one of the screens, accompanied by a holographic display that shimmered in midair. This was no ordinary operating system. This was an AI, a digital entity that existed purely within the confines of the network. Its presence was subtle, a whisper of consciousness that haunted the periphery of the hacker's awareness. "We are approaching the core," the AI intoned, its voice devoid of inflection. "The security protocols are robust, but I believe I can circumvent them." Data streams swirled around the holographic globe, a visual representation of the AI's efforts to penetrate the system's defenses. The hacker nodded curtly, his eyes never leaving the screen. He trusted the AI, but he also knew its limitations. This was a partnership of necessity, a delicate dance between two entities with very different agendas. His reasons for being here, for undertaking this dangerous intrusion, were his own. Some might call him a criminal, a digital vandal seeking to disrupt and destroy. But he knew the truth. He was a liberator, a warrior fighting for freedom in a world increasingly controlled by unseen forces. The information he sought was buried deep within the system, locked away behind layers of encryption and guarded by vigilant programs. It was the key to exposing a conspiracy that stretched to the highest levels of power, a conspiracy that threatened to enslave humanity in a web of digital control. He had seen the consequences of inaction, the slow erosion of privacy and autonomy. He had watched as the lines between the real and the virtual blurred, as corporations and governments tightened their grip on the flow of information. He was fighting for a future where humanity remained in control of its own destiny, a future where the digital world empowered rather than enslaved, and he would not rest until the truth was revealed.